This is COMM 2300. It's also COMM 2350. Research methods. My name is Dr. Douglas, and what I'd like to do today is to go over the syllabus and talk a little bit about the general nature of the course. As I've indicated on the syllabus, the objectives for the course are to make you and I more sophisticated consumers of research. I do not expect that you will go out and become researchers for corporations as a career, although some of you will do that. Communication disorders, public relations, media relations, even media production are loaded with positions that require, in one way or another, persons go out and acquire and analyze information, and that's all that we're going to look at this semester. But as I indicated, my primary objective for the course is not to make you sophisticated researchers, it's to make you sophisticated consumers of research. And research affects us in a number of ways. It clearly affects the products that make their way onto the shelves. It clearly affects the sort of medication that you and I take routinely, and it clearly affects the way that you and I design our lives. We're told that caffeine is harmful to our health, and an increasing number of people for an increasing number of years have been avoiding caffeine on the belief that caffeine is detrimental to them, that it causes problems with their heart, that it potentially causes cancer, that it makes them hyperactive. And now we learn that after a decade of subsequent research, or more than a decade of subsequent research, there is absolutely no proof of that. So we ought to go back and drink all the caffeine, apparently, that we wish to. But clearly, you and I are affected by research in a variety of ways, and we ought to be more sophisticated than is presently the case. We ought to be more sophisticated than designing our own lives and our own behavior as a function of single pieces of research, and sometimes substantially flawed single pieces of research. So I hope that at the end of the course, each of you is a more sophisticated interpreter and consumer of research than you are at the moment. The text for the course is the 6th edition of Healy's Statistics, a Tool for Social Research. I believe this to be a user-friendly text, the most user-friendly text available. That does not mean that you will be able to read it as you would read a piece of literature. It does not mean that you will understand every word immediately. But it does mean that Healy's explication of data collection and data analysis is organized and I believe to be expressed in the most straightforward way possible. That does not mean you won't have problems with the text. It doesn't mean that you won't have problems understanding issues raised in this course. But if you do have problems, you should make those problems known to me, either through email or telephone. I have outlined here the topics that we will cover in the course, starting with data and data reduction all the way through hypothesis testing, and have indicated the exam dates and the exam schedule for the semester. Your grade in the course will be a function of 3 exams. Those exams will each be multiple choice. They will be non-cumulative. That is to say that the first exam will cover the topics that are listed above the date for exam 1. And those topics will not be covered on exam 2. So the exams are multiple choice and non-cumulative, and each will account for 1/3 of your course grade. That is, they're equally weighted. I have a note here about dropping the course. I will not drop you from the course. That doesn't mean to say that you're locked and loaded, that you can't get out of here, that this is Stalag 17. It does mean that if you wish to drop the course, you must take responsibility for that. I will sign the drop and add form quite willingly, but you must initiate that process. If you're on my class roll at the end of the semester, you will get a letter grade A through F. I've also indicated the last day to drop a course for anything other than substantive non-academic reasons, and you should check that date in the course schedule. I've indicated here office hours and when I'm available, and the last thing on the syllabus refers to the use of WebCT. I will, across the course of the semester, post questions, problems that parallel those that you will see on the exam. I will post correct answers to each of the exams, and I will post relevant emergency notices about the course. You should check WebCT routinely. Having said those things about the course, let me say a couple of other things. The first is that many of you come here feeling unprepared for the course. You don't think you're good at math, and so you think you will do poorly in the course. And it is the case that through no fault of your own, many of you come here unprepared for the course. That is, you haven't taken courses of this kind in junior high school or high school that lead naturally into this course. That does not mean that you cannot do well in the course. If you can multiply 9 by 9, if you have a calculator that will demonstrate, that will show you the square root of a number, you can do well in this course. To do well, however, requires that you work at doing well. You cannot rely on me. I make half of this stuff up as I go along. I don't know anything about this stuff. This is a very obvious thing to say, but the reality is that few of you will do it. You increase the likelihood that you will A, do well, and B, enjoy the course if you read the material before the lecture, if you read the material after the lecture, and if you work at understanding the material. That is, you cannot be reading along in Healy and expect to immediately understand everything that Healy says. You cannot sit in here and realistically expect to understand immediately everything that I say. You have to work at those things, whether that means rereading parts of Healy, whether it means communicating to me your difficulties. You have to do those things that resolve the difficulties and increase the likelihood that you will do well in the course. The other thing that I need to say is that because some of you feel unprepared for the course, it may not be today. You may all be sitting out there comfortably today, but as the due date of exam 1 approaches, some of you will start to get a rumbling in your stomach. You will start to get shots of adrenaline going through your body. You will become nervous. You will become anxious. We are not playing life and death. As an undergraduate, and certainly as a graduate student, but as an undergraduate student, I became anxious before exams. A certain amount of anxiety is useful, but there's a point at which it becomes dysfunctional. And in this course, a number of students over the years that I've taught the course have reached levels of anxiety that are dysfunctional. Last semester, several students couldn't take the first exam, asked me if they could sit elsewhere because they were having panic attacks. As an undergraduate, as I've said, I became anxious too about exams. And in one course, I found myself sitting next to a cowboy with the hat that comes forward and, you know, drops down, and with the band and the feather and the belt and the big buckle and the name on it and those boots that turn up at the end and the funky shirt and the jeans that are like a foot too long but still look cool, and the mustache, the droopy mustache. And before one exam, the cowboy noticed that I was becoming anxious and turned to me and said, "Douglas, you ain't going to die if you fail this exam." Across the years, the wisdom of the cowboy's words have come to me. You ain't going to die if you fail this exam. We are not playing life and death. If you have problems in the course, you should communicate those problems to me. You want to pass the course, I want you to pass the course. I don't need to see your faces again. You know, and you don't need to see mine. So if you have problems in the course, as I've said, make those known to me. Next time we will talk about data and data reduction, and the readings are shown on the syllabus. I will see you next time. Let me say again that if you're not enrolled, I will.